Hey y'all, Data Guy here. And today I got a really cool video showing you all of those latest Airflow 2.6 features in an actual practical setting. So instead of just talking about, hey, what are all these features? Let's see what they can do for your DAGs in practice. So the first feature I want to talk about is the new notifiers feature. And so what this allows you to do is basically predefine a notification path. So let's say a Slack message or an email message that will activate every time a DAG fails or is successful. Now, previously, to enable this, you would have to boilerplate, write some DAG code, and then copy and paste it into every DAG to set up that notification path. Not anymore. Now we have a object called the notifier, base notifier here, and you can see the class my notifier, where I'm defining a basic notification that's just saying hi for my notifier. This is just an example, so don't take this as gospel. But this is just a basic example of, hey, this is how you can create a notifier and then use it within your DAG. So you can see here, I have a notifier and then I have a my callback function where it's going to pass the task ID. So just some of the information about the actual task in the notification method. And then I can use that here in on success callback and on failure callback, as well as SLA miss callback. So now well, in this DAG, I've already had to write this code. I can then use this notifier in any other DAG I want if I add the notifier as a class just within my Airflow directory. So no longer do you have to just copy and paste code every time you want to add a notification or an SLA to your pipelines. Now you can have one common across all your pipelines and just refer to it like so. So if we look at the logs and what this enables, if we click on task succeeding, open a log, you can see the messages hi from my callback function being sent upon success, and then you can also see them being sent upon failure. So that's the first feature I wanted to talk about. The next one is the new continuous timetable. So what the continuous timetable does is allow you to have a DAG that will just run again every time it completes. So you can see here, this is basically you'll watch as it runs. It's going to succeed and then trigger another DAG run. And so what this looks like in the code is, and you can see it happen right there, immediately once that succeeded, this one started up a new DAG run. And a very simple implementation here is just having the at schedule be at continuous. And instead of you needing to have, a task within your DAG that re-triggers that DAG, now just set it as a continuous DAG and it'll keep triggering until you manually stop it. Now, the next feature I want to talk about is the new deferrable trigger DAG run operator. So this allows you to set DAG runs to go on a deferrable trigger. So here you see we're waiting 10 seconds, then triggering DAG run. And if we actually click on this trigger DAG run, it'll have an extra link to the actual DAG run we are triggering. So here it's just doing wait X seconds. So now you can leverage that trigger even more. And additionally, if you want to look at the logs for that trigger, they are now available within your UI. So before, you wouldn't really see the triggers actions pop up in the UI. Now you do. You see the trigger DAG run actually occur within the context of your overall logs. So just great to have all those logs now together in one place. And this also illustrates another great feature, which is having the graph view now integrated onto our grid view. So now instead of you having to click back and forth between the grid and the graph view, as I know I have a billion times, now you have them all in one easy to monitor location. Just another step forward to making Airflow really easy to use and monitor at scale. Now, the next feature we'll go into is JSON and YAML macros. So what this allows you to do is basically treat JSON and YAML files as easily referenceable data sets within your DAGs. So this allows you to access your JSON YAML inputs by using this macros.json.loads, then myJSON, and that will make it readable to print, by print actions or for other actions where you want to manipulate that data. So just eliminating that step where you might have to convert that JSON or YAML data to another format before you can actually interact with it. This gives you kind of a more templatized way to do so. So quick but very powerful feature there. And now, if we want to look at the next feature, we have the maximum task instances per DAG run. So with this, you now can have the benefits of dynamism and having multiple mapped task instances using dynamic tasks, while also setting parameters that allow you to limit the degree to which you will generate all those different task instances. So you can see this in practice where if we go at a particular task, you now have these two fields, max active task instances per DAG run and max active task instances per DAG equals to 5. So this will limit the amount of maximum active task instances per your DAG to 5. So if you don't want to scale your task instances past a certain point, this is where this is really useful to just kind of set those guardrails in place. And the next feature we'll talk about is another example of the notifiers, this time a little bit more built out, where you actually have the Slack notifier object now being used. So if we go look at the DAG code here, this is just a DAG that's just using the Slack notifier, where you can now import this Slack notifications library, collect your Slack connection ID, channel, and whatever message you want to send. You can see we're using Jinja templates to just incorporate some of the log information into that alert message. And then we're defining our Slack notifier task. So basically on success callback, call that Slack notifier object where I'm just passing it the connection ID, Slack message, and channel. And again, I don't actually need to define the whole Slack notifier. I can just call that all in there and have the new notifier object take care of the rest. And so this is just going to post to Slack. Really isolated example, but really important, I think, for just all the different ways that you can really extend this new notifier object to make notifying and alerting within Airflow a lot easier. And our next thing we're going to look at is pandas and XComs. So now you can push and pull pandas data frames using XComs. So no longer do you need to convert it to anything else. If we look at this DAG code here, you'll see that I'm importing pandas per usual, and then I'm actually returning a pandas data frame. So I don't have to convert it back to another data set format before I actually push it into the XCOM database. And so if we look at our grid view, go into the logs, we can see it pulled out that exact data set that we just pulled, or pandas data frame that we just pulled in or pushed in the previous task. So just quality of life improvement there, eliminating some of the busy work you needed to do, pushing and pulling pandas data frames and using XComs. And as we get into final rounds, we have the new retry examples. So with retry examples, these allow you to set, retries allow you to set retry parameters within your DAGs. So you can see that for one of these task instances, I'm saying T1 retries default args, give it a 2 seconds delay between retries, exponential back off, so those delays will get exponentially larger each time, so it's not just pinging endlessly, and then a max retry delay. So this will exponentially increase until it hits that max retry delay, and then stop retrying. And you can play with these different parameters to fit your exact retry specifications as well, as you can see these different examples here. Now, if we go down to trigger with params, now you can manually trigger a DAG run with parameters. So if I go to trigger this DAG run with config, you'll see I now have this UI where I can enter my dog name, the number of treats, and is my dog happy pre-treats, and then trigger it. So fun, silly example. My dog's name is Piglet, the data dog. And so we can see in here, give treats, look at the logs, see Piglet is getting 5 treats, so he's a happy, happy doggo. So you can see that you can extend this further, where if you have a DAG that you're always running with different parameters, this gives you an easy way to just pop the input in the UI versus having to hard code it every time you want to change a value. And finally, UI features. So this is really where I want to show off some of the coolest new features in this graph view. So if we go into a graph view here, I can now select a certain task, and I can filter actually for tasks that are only upstream or only downstream, or filter upstream and downstream. So I just see all the tasks that are associated upstream and downstream from this particular task. So it makes having a really large complex DAG like this much easier to read, where I just want to center on a certain task and only look at the tasks that are related to it. So just additional flexibility and visibility into monitoring your DAGs when they do get to that enterprise complexity, and you have the tooling now to isolate, so you can figure out, hey, how does this task relate to the rest of my data pipeline? And that's really all I have for y'all today. I hope you had fun going through some of these practical examples, and I really hope that you make use of them in your airflow environment. This is really, really a big release, a lot of quality of life improvements, and I think people are going to be really happy with it. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Have a good one. Peace.